Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're wiping down the whiteboard and getting right into one of the most devastating, beautiful, and physically demanding tactical formations in the entire history of football. We are talking about the legendary 4-3-3. Now, if you've watched literally any modern football, you've definitely seen this system at work. But what we're going to explore today isn't just a bunch of X's and O's. We are going to uncover the deeply personal, totally fascinating, and honestly kind of hilarious human story behind its creation. Think about this for a second. How exactly did a player who simply wanted to secure his spot on the Brazilian national team accidentally invent the most devastating tactical formation in modern football? I mean, it sounds like a Hollywood script, right? But the tactical revolution that we see on pitches all over the world today, it was literally born out of one man's absolute refusal to be left out of the history books. Okay, let's dive right into this. To really understand this massive shift, we have to look to the comprehensive literature that maps out the game's evolution. Books like Jonathan Wilson's absolute masterpiece, Inverting the Pyramid. Because the truth is, football isn't just won with raw talent. It's won and lost on profound tactical shifts. Formations aren't just rigid numbers. They're like living, breathing strategies that adapt based on the game, the players, and the brilliant minds who can see space where everyone else just sees grass. And back in the late 1950s, one man found exactly the space he needed. That man was Mario Zagallo. And his former teammate Dada actually hit the nail on the head when he said, "Zagallo never tired of telling us, guys, I want to be part of history." Zagallo was, by his own admission, an incredibly vain guy. He loved the spotlight, loved victory parades, and desperately wanted to be a legend. But here was his massive problem. He was a number 10, and in 1950s Brazil, the number 10 shirt belonged to absolute virtuosos, guys like Pelé, Didi. Zagallo was a phenomenal player with great ball control, but he was smart enough to know there was no way he was going to outshine those icons in the center of the pitch. So, purely driven by his need to make the 1958 World Cup squad, he decided to adapt. Section 1, the Tactical Revolution, Zagallo's brilliant invention. And this brilliantly illustrates the shift. We have to look at the mechanics of what Zagallo actually did to make that squad. The standard formation in the 1950s was the 4-2-4. It was super attack-heavy, but it had a glaring, massive flaw. It left the two central midfielders completely on an island. The midfield was massively exposed, and the Brazilian manager at the time, Vicente Fiola, knew this was a huge liability for the '58 World Cup. Enter Zagallo. By dropping just one of those attacking players back into the midfield, Zagallo completely changed the mathematical equation of the pitch. Just like that, the 4-3-3 was born. To pull this off, Zagallo essentially invented a brand new role, the deep-lying winger, or the ponta recuado. Before this, wingers had exactly one job, attack. They basically just hung out in the opponent's half waiting for the ball. But Zagallo, he brought this new industrious energy. When Brazil had the ball, sure, he was a flying left winger. But the second they lost possession, he had the strict tactical obligation to sprint back and defend that exposed midfield. He brought a totally unprecedented sense of balance to the field. And he was incredibly proud of this innovation. He flat out said, "I was the reason that the Brazilian national team, for the first time, abandoned a Brazilian style and played in a 4-3-3, and we won the World Cup." His ingenuity was exactly the fix Vicente Fiola needed for his defensive headaches in Sweden. Zagallo actually beat out way flashier wingers for the starting spot purely because they only knew how to attack in a 4-2-4. Zagallo did both. So his vanity, his sheer stubborn need to be on that pitch, literally birthed a system that went on to conquer the world. Section 2, Anatomy of the 4-3-3. Now, what's really interesting about this system is how it works on a microscopic level. Let's break down the incredibly demanding requirements for each positional group. Because you're committing so many bodies forward, your goalkeeper can't just be a shot stopper. They have to act as a sweeper to clear balls over the top. Your defense needs super athletic fullbacks who can bomb up the wings, leaving the two center backs as the absolute bedrock. But the real magic? The midfield. This is the engine room. You need a specialized trio, a defender to shield the backline, a controller to dictate the tempo, and a creator to link to the forwards. And up top, you've got a mobile striker flanked by fearless, tricky wide forwards. It's a beautifully complex machine. When these roles are clicking, the flow of play is absolutely suffocating for the opponent. Here's how it usually goes. Step 1, the team pushes high, setting a trap. Step 2, they aggressively compress the space and win the ball back high up the pitch. Step 3, the fullbacks push up to join the wide forwards, creating massive overloads on the wings, just totally overwhelming the defenders. And step 4, the entire team attacks as one cohesive unit, basically flooding the final third with up to 7 players. Honestly, it's pure organized mayhem for whoever is trying to defend against it.
Section 3, Strengths and Weaknesses.
Now, no tactical system is completely perfect, right? It's always a give and take. So let's talk about the offensive firepower first, which is just overwhelming. Because of the natural triangles the 4-3-3 creates, teams get these incredibly diverse passing angles, allowing them to completely dominate possession. Plus, the high-energy pressing means the other team has zero time on the ball, forcing them into brutal mistakes. It's also super flexible. A coach can literally flip the midfield triangle with one substitution to either lock down a lead or chase a goal. So the crucial point is understanding the hidden risks. Pushing 7 players forward means you are leaving massive gaping holes at the back. It makes you highly susceptible to counterattacks. It also requires elite, lung-busting physical fitness. If your team gets tired or if just one wide forward forgets to track back, your fullbacks are instantly isolated. Also, because the midfield moves as this really tight little unit toward the ball, a quick, rapid cross-field pass can completely shatter their shape and expose the opposite side. It demands total, absolute tactical discipline. Section 4. The 1970 Masterpiece. Let's zoom back out from the micro-tactics and check back in with our pioneer, Mario Zagallo. Fast forward to 1970, and Zagallo pulls off one of the most astonishing managerial feats in football history. He becomes the manager of the Brazilian national team just 75 days before the World Cup in Mexico, and he walks into a dressing room absolutely overflowing with generational talent. Critics said it was literally impossible, but Zagallo somehow managed to squeeze 5 distinct number 10s, Pelé, Gerson, Tostão, Rivellino, and Jairzinho, into one single 4-3-3 system. He took a bunch of individual megastars and molded them into the ultimate expression of his tactical philosophy. So how on earth did he pull that off? By demanding total discipline from the most talented players on the planet. His rule was non-negotiable. At the World Cup, our seleção must always have 8 men behind the ball when the opponent is in possession. He basically took his 1958 invention, that hard-working winger, and scaled it across the whole team. He made Rivellino play his old role. He demanded that these brilliant offensive virtuosos track back and defend as a unit. It wasn't just Brazilian flair anymore. It was highly structured, revolutionary, modern football. Let's move to and see how this builds a legacy that spans generations. We start in 1958, with Zagallo pioneering the 4-3-3 on the pitch. By 1970, he perfects it from the sidelines, unleashing the beautiful team. From there, that 4-3-3 DNA spreads like wildfire to Europe. It becomes the backbone of Dutch total football, eventually leading Louis van Gaal's Ajax to Champions League glory in 1995. And finally, it evolves into what many consider the greatest club side ever, Pep Guardiola's 2009 Barcelona, who won 6 trophies in a single year using a mesmerizing version of this exact formation. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. If a tactical revolution that completely changed the global game for over 60 years was born purely out of one player's vanity, just a guy desperate to get off the bench and make history, what unseen innovations are being created on the pitch right now? The next time you sit down to watch a match, don't just follow the ball. Look at the space. Watch how the players are shifting. Because somewhere out there, a player might just be accidentally inventing the future of football. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep your eyes on the pitch.